Hi, fam. Did you know today, June 19th, is not only a nationally recognized holiday commemorating the history of the African American community here in the United States, but June 19th is also World Sickle Cell Day. This is the day that is designated to help raising awareness of sickle cell anemia. Sickle cell anemia is a life threatening, inherited genetic disorder. In other words, a person with sickle cell anemia acquired the defective gene from both their parents. Most people with sickle cell anemia have been diagnosed by about 6 months of age. Myself, on the other hand, I was diagnosed at the age of 4 when symptoms presented itself from my third birthday. So my parents spent a year trying to figure out what was wrong with their daughter, only to find out 1 year later that I had sickle cell anemia. Back then, due to poor medical care and systems being in place, our life expectancy was expected to be about 20 or somewhere in our 20s. As medical advancements came on stream, our life expectancy is that of 20 to 30 years less than the average American. In other words, my life expectancy is around 42 years of age. Not very comforting, but God is good. I have surpassed both those ages, and He has continued to keep me, for which I'm eternally grateful. Sickle cell anemia causes many complications throughout one's life. As in my case, I have gone blind from sickle cell anemia. I have had multiple near-death experiences due to sickle cell anemia. I am a registered nurse, which I was counseled strongly not to get in healthcare because of the heightened risk of my getting infections, which could prove deadly. However, if you know me, I'm a true Taurian and I defy everything. Hence, I'm actually wearing a t-shirt saying I am the reason there are rules, which is so true. However, I am a registered nurse. I am currently disabled due to sickle cell anemia, and I am a published author. I took the time to write a book on my life experiences living with this disorder. I entitled the book Living on the Edge of a Scalpel, and I'm just going to read chapter 1 to you. It's entitled Pulmonary Slice. As I sat rubbing my neck, I felt the 3 holes the previous anesthesiologist had created while attempting to get an intravenous catheter into my right jugular vein. He had great difficulty, even though he had used the latest technology to ensure success. I picked up the phone and robotically did what I had to do. Hello, I'm scheduled for surgery and need to make an appointment to come in to see the anesthesiologist. The receptionist on the other end of the phone said, "Okay, come in on October 6th at 10:30 a.m. "Thank you, goodbye," I said and hung up the phone. The morning of my pre-op interview found me sitting in a blandly decorated waiting room with 12 nameless people. Of all the people who had supported me through my year-long journey, none could take the next steps for me. I sat surrounded by strangers, all facing our own fears in hopeful, if not anxious, quietude. "Heather," his British voice boomed, shattering the silence. Timidly I responded, "Yes." Dr. P had a sympathetic look in his sky blue eyes. He documented my extensive medical and surgical history and patiently answered all my questions. I told him about my previous experience with the insertion of the intravenous catheter and requested that this time it be placed in my left jugular not my right. "You're reading too much into it," he said, as he tried to reassure me that all would be well. He ended the interview shortly thereafter with a firm handshake and a cheery, "I'll see you on Monday." When I got home, I thought about his response to my request. I was not very pleased. Monday morning, October 8th, 2007, I sat straight up on a narrow stretcher, nervously awaiting surgery. The OR schedule had the words "left hip arthroplasty" by my name. This would make my third major surgery in a 1-year period and my second joint replacement surgery. The hip replacement patients I had previously cared for were in their 70s or 80s. I was getting a much earlier start. The room was cold and only a thin blue gown and a light white sheet covered me. The nurses tucked my long black hair under a blue paper cap, then put on a pair of dreadfully ugly brown non-slip slippers on my feet. The pre-op nursing staff was exceptionally friendly. It did nothing to relieve me of my stress, which at this point was off the chart. My early morning support system constituted of my parents, my husband, and my son. We prayed together, and at 7:30 a.m. I told my family, "See you later." I cried silently as the operating room technician wheeled me out of their view. All the while, I hoped I would really see them later. Having done previous surgeries on me, Dr. Rush, my orthopedic surgeon, had taken all necessary precautions. As a highly skilled surgeon, his efforts paid off greatly. His surgical part went very well. The anesthesiologist part went very wrong. Dr. P had punctured my right lung while inserting the intravenous catheter into my right jugular vein. I was not yet aware of the cause for my increasing chest pain and difficulty breathing. As a matter of fact, no one else was. The next morning was when we became aware of a problem. Being more awake and in tune with my body, I was keenly aware that my chest was hurting with each breath that I took, and each breath proved to be extremely difficult to catch. A stat chest x-ray was ordered. When the results became available, the doctor came in to inform me that I had a pneumothorax and needed a tube inserted in my chest wall to help to re-expand my lung. My lung was 50% collapsed and would continue to collapse without intervention. The cardiovascular surgeon came at 4:30 p.m. He promised that he would do this barbaric procedure as humanely as possible. The thought came to me that a promise is a comfort to a fool, and I was no fool. Having no other options, the consent was signed. He did not believe it needed to be done downstairs in the special procedures suite. It would be okay to be done at my bedside. What is essentially a pediatric dose of a commonly used narcotic was given to me for pain relief and relaxation. I listened as he gave me step-by-step explanations and instructions. I felt as the 8-centimeter long catheter was inserted in the newly created opening in the right side of my upper back. I felt an overpowering need to sleep. Sleep, I did. My mother, who is also a registered nurse, was allowed to stay at my bedside throughout the procedure. She stood on the left side of my bed and soothingly rubbed my hip and my head. As my head was not hurting me, I secretly believed that she rubbed my head to soothe herself. At the end of the procedure, Dr. C said, "I'm finished. You can roll on your back now." I did not move. Getting concerned, he again instructed, "Heather, roll onto your back." Again, I did not move. The two nurses, my mom, and the surgeon, who were all at my bedside, had to roll me over themselves. I was unresponsive. I was not breathing. In the waiting room, my father jolted to attention at the announcement he thought he had heard overhead. Was that Heather's room they just announced? He listened for it again. Code Blue, room 323A. Yes, he had heard correctly. That was the room he had just stepped out of at the doctor's request. He hurried down the hallway. While he walked, he frantically dialed Ludlow's number and told him, "Something is wrong with Heather." When the call came in, Ludlow, my husband, and our son LJ were just pulling into the hospital's parking garage. He now heard the panic in his otherwise calm father-in-law's voice. At the same time, he also heard the operator making her own frantic announcement in the background. Code Blue, room 323A. Code Blue, room 323A. That's the end of chapter 1 of Living on the Edge of a Scalpel by yours truly, Heather B. This book is available online anywhere books are sold, and the audiobook should be available coming the end of this month. I hope that the story or my little discussion at the beginning of the video will be sufficient to pique your interest into finding out more about those who suffer from sickle cell anemia on this June 19th, World Sickle Cell Day. Thank you for listening. God bless, and until next time, ciao.